Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Listening to Guiding Stars Evolutionary Astrology Radio. This is your host, Kristin Fontana. Guiding Stars is an interactive, soul-centered astrology talk show using the symbolic language of evolutionary astrology to enlighten and empower you on this journey. If you've missed any prior broadcasts, we do have an archives here at Healthy Life, and the archive button is right there next to the Listen Live button that you clicked on to hear this show. Also, if you have any comments or suggestions, we do want to know about it, and you can email me through my website at KristinFontana.com. Before we get started today, I'd just like to remind you, if you are a new listener, that we have a website available for you to learn more about evolutionary astrology. The website is schoolofevolutionaryastrology.com, and within the website we do have a wonderful learning forum, a message board where you can participate in ongoing practice threads or post questions in EA, and just connect with others who are studying and certified astrologers in evolutionary astrology. If you're interested in becoming a more serious student, we do have a correspondence course available for you to become certified, and this is the original course taught by the founder of EA, Jeff Green. The course is a series of 30 DVDs from this original school in the early 90s, and it's available via the website. Also, any latest books that have been out or information on articles and single lectures that you may be interested in, you can check out as well on the main website. All right, I'm really excited today because we have a brand new guest, Simon Borster. He's from Sweden, although born in South Africa, and he's been a very active evolutionary astrologer with a wonderful website, raisingvibrationsastrology.com. And we're going to do a little mini-series looking at the natural zodiac, addressing cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. So I'd like to welcome Simon to Guiding Stars. Welcome, Simon.
Hi, Kristin. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm honestly really excited.
I'm excited, too. I'm looking forward to it. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the listeners that you're doing, or I just didn't want to steal your thunder there. I want to make sure that you can at least let people know what you're doing or where to find you. I think through the website is the best place as far as I know.
Yeah, absolutely. My website is the main page that you can get all the information that you need to know about myself. I run miniature astrology schools that teach the paradigm from Jeffrey Wolf Green, and you can participate in those experiences. And I also write for an online community called Wake Up World. And I integrate evolutionary astrology through their monthly forecast or bi-monthly forecasts. And, so that's where you can find me most active in spreading the light of EA.
Wow, wonderful. And how did you find evolutionary astrology?
To be honest, I've always had an astrology book with me since the age of 13. And as I've matured into my older age, I was looking for something that really gave me the original idea of what astrology was, and not the cookbook, as Jeffrey would say. And I kind of stumbled across the EA school, and I got a DVD or some information, and then I left it for about 6 months, and then all of a sudden it popped up again, and I just took my last savings, literally everything that I had in my bank account, and bought the DVD school. And got a bag. And it was kind of funny because as soon as I got to school and I started, becoming, as Jeffrey was saying, merged with the material, he said something where he said, the reason why I'm doing this school is because I'd like other people to continue the work that I'm doing because I just simply don't have enough time. Mm-hmm. And that was it. It was like a deep awakening within myself where I was like, I need to be one of those people. So it's kind of a very intimate story regarding his work, and that's probably the reason as to why I'm so, in some way, shape, or form, fanatical about it. I honestly believe in the work that he's doing, and I'm wanting to be a vehicle for that message to come through.
Oh, you give me the chills. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Well, I can feel this crescendo effect of energy that you're putting out there. You're really doing a wonderful job. I can tell, reaching a lot of people, and it's incredible that we have Facebook and the Internet and everything now. We can connect with people all over the world, right, that are interested in searching and hungry for this work. So anyway, it's a pleasure to have you here with me today. And we were discussing, via email about different topics, or I had some interest from people writing to me about specifically the little series that we're going to share together. And so I really want you to just set this thing up, and I'll interject as needed. But in discussing the natural zodiac, we always start in Aries and move all the way through the zodiac to Pisces. It's, of course, how I write my forecast, too. I can't start in the middle. I always have to start at the beginning, right?
Absolutely. And that's really a neat way to actually use the natural zodiac to create anything that you wish to do. You always begin with Aries and that separation anxiety from Pluto, the 8th house, and kind of leads you along your journey, and each sign actually teaches you something about that process. So absolutely begin with Aries.
All right, well, I'm going to let you set it up then. So why don't you take it from here and just tell me a little bit about your process when you're looking at. We're going to start with, we'll just discuss cardinal archetypes today, yeah?
Yep, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you. It's a really, to me, I feel it's a really interesting collection of signs that work together in the natural zodiac. For me personally, I love working with the natural zodiac because of the natural laws that are so evident in them. And when we begin with Aries, or when I start with Aries, the initial thought process that always comes through to me when I reflect or discuss or share knowledge about how to understand that archetype to anybody in my school and of course in readings, is that there's always that connection to Scorpio, and Mars being that ruler, or should I say the lower octave of Pluto, and so intertwined with Scorpio and the 8th house, that there's that inconjunct that takes place that Jeffrey talks about, where there's a separation anxiety, where we begin a new destination. We start something new for the first time, and we kind of pioneer it. And Aries always reflects to me that initial process of how we begin something in our activities in our day, and it doesn't matter what it is, whatever we choose to engage in, that's so fresh and new for us. And it teaches us so much about our ability to recognize that when we explore something for the first time and we experience that uncertainty that lies ahead of us, that sense of, I know myself, I know this special purpose that I feel so instinctually, and yet I need to discover it, which is the underlying message that Aries really brings to us, that kind of motivates the evolutionary necessity for that motion to take place, which is, I need to discover it. And so whenever I feel and connect to the Aries archetype in the natural zodiac, it always reminds me of that process of something new beginning, of course, that anxiety of separation from something that is already known, and that sense of, I'm going to explore something here and really find out what that instinctual urge is that is, almost giving me this need to explore and to kind of discover what it is. And as an archetype in the cardinal series, I always see in a picture format, and I always relate it to nature as the seed that is essentially beneath the ground. And if you really look at the symbol of Aries itself, you can see that it's got the spring association where the middle line is beginning and then it kind of expands into two directions. And on one level, that is that essential energy that is so intertwined with Aries, which is about, I just need to discover, I just need to go. There is no editing, there is no, how do I go about this process? I just act. And so there's these multiple directions that emerge for us in random directions. And it's kind of interesting if you, and I'm breaking away a little bit about the cardinal aspect itself, but Aries is heavily influenced, in my opinion, with Aquarius and Gemini in terms of the two sextiles that really stimulate the Aries archetype. And if you really bring in the Aquarius archetype, you can see that there's this randomness that really allows for that sense of freedom to be present. And the Gemini is really stimulating that necessity to find and be curious. That really is what's actually helping Aries become so impulsive in some way to really discover, and it kind of helps it in some way.
Yes, perfect.
And, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, I was just going to share, too, that I have a strong, I have a third house Pluto and an Aries moon, and so I'm really relating to what you're saying in combination. You know, the Uranus is conjunct my Pluto because when I was born, so I can really relate to that air, right? That curiosity and that need for stimulation and the need for the freedom to explore these impulses,
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
wonderful.
And what's interesting about that as well, did you say that you had Pluto and Uranus in a conjunction?
Yeah, a new phase, and that's an Aries energy, right? A new phase.
Right.
In the third house.
Exactly. And then you have your moon in Aries, which is really stimulating that self-image of, I need to create a new direction. I need to aid that facility to nurture myself, which we'll get to in the Cancer archetype, the moon reflecting that way of how we can move through moment-to-moment reality. And for you having it in Aries, it kind of naturally stimulates that, or aids that new phase conjunction between Pluto and Uranus.
Yeah, that's true. So I like that, Simon. I haven't heard it quite said like that. I just want to share real briefly. It's a wonderful way to, and thank you so much for this. One of our listeners was recommending that you come on air for this specific reason because of your understanding or the way that you share your knowledge of the natural zodiac, and how when we're looking at a sextile, for those of you that don't know, is a very supportive aspect, a 60-degree angle to Aries, and so versus a square that can be one of stress, this is one of ease, so it's going to naturally create this curiosity, as Simon was sharing. So, you know, thank you for pulling in these aspects and reminding people, you know, where to lean and where to look if you've got some of these energies.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's kind of an interesting thing that you share with me, because when I was actually reading the Pluto material, and particularly Pluto 1 and 2, I was really trying to understand where Jeffrey was getting his information from as he describes the archetypes. Why was he talking about Aries being, and this is what I would like to introduce in terms of Aries as something that we all experience, including myself being part of this show for the first time. I had such an Aries experience here where there's the natural square between Aries and Cancer in the zodiac, and it reflects that process of when we are discovering something for the first time, when we're really stepping into a new direction that has never been explored before, and that sense of, what does it look like? It can really stimulate a sense of inner security, the need to create inner security, the need to really establish and recognize that there is a really strong, and that's what the square represents in some way, that ability to nurture those feelings of anxiety that come up, as it can be seen as excitement, but at the same time, it can also be seen as that nervous energy of like, oh no, what's going to happen? Am I going to do something wrong, you know? And another way to actually illustrate that as well, and I'll get back to the Pluto stuff, what I initially wanted to say was that because of the patriarchal conditioning and distortion that Virgo and Capricorn has, Capricorn, of course, makes that square to Aries, and it also opposes Cancer. And I don't want to get too technical here, but again, there's that inconjunct between Aries and Virgo. And so we naturally have that initial feeling within ourselves of judgment within ourselves from Capricorn, and that kind of sense of, am I going to be ready for it? Will I be able to do it in Virgo? And I'm going to stall and kind of create excuses to not make me action something, to not make me just jump in with my Aries energy and really pioneer this new direction that is being probably called so deeply from within the soul, as of course Aries represents that way that we initiate our soul's desire. So when reading the Pluto material, and I was really understanding or trying to understand why Jeffrey was saying that in Pluto in the first house, the soul can be very deeply insecure with its nature of its identity, and one of the reasons why, of course, that's the case is because there hasn't been an evolutionary progression through the zodiac, so it knows nothing. And because Cancer is squaring Aries, it invites this need for us to really become secure within ourselves and to create that feeling of nurturing. But yet, because we haven't got that yet in that process, and we don't understand, we don't have a very good grasp on what that new direction is about that Aries is asking us to do, we struggle with that feeling of safety within ourselves on a very deep level. And so when I read the material, I was like, he must be using the natural zodiac. And of course, as I started to understand it, I was like, yes, he is, and that's why he's saying that Pluto in the first house, because of its square to Cancer, etc.
Yeah, that is so key, for all the cardinal signs, as you're saying. And one thing I wanted to add, I love that you brought in the inconjunct to Virgo. I have a funny story that just happened yesterday. I have a teenager, she's 14, and she's in her Saturn opposition right now. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah, that Aries square to the Capricorn, and she has a North Node in the first house, and she is a Virgo sun. And she said, Mom, I want to earn some money. And I said, okay. She said, is there anything I can do around here that I'm not already doing? Her natural chores, right? And I said, yeah, you can scrub the shower. It's like stone in there, with grout, and it's not just like a nice, easy tub that you wash out. It's like a serious job, right? That's something I didn't want to do. So I'm like, I'll pay you to do that. Anyway, she got halfway through it and wanted to stop, right? Because her Virgo wanted to, procrastinate or create a crisis, or there's all these little half projects finished in her room and everything. I said, no, I'm not paying you unless you finish the whole thing right now. I mean, it won't take you that much longer. But it's so interesting how that inconjunct was playing, and it provided an opportunity, though, for me as her mother to talk to her about these things. That when we don't finish something, if any of you have a strong Virgo signature in your chart, and my sun sits in the 6th house, my sun signs, I'm aware of this myself. I'm constantly having to check in with myself on it. If that we stop a project mid-through, whatever it might be, it's always going to be in the background, like a bee buzzing in your ear, and this sense of, I've got to finish it. So it takes up all this inner space that is not necessary, which is why it ultimately could lead to a crisis of some sort if it's ultimately, a big deal, whatever it might be. So anyway, yeah, thank you for mentioning that in conjunct to Virgo. It's a real deal.
Absolutely, and something that I would like to also share with that process as well, with that inconjunct, and I know we're kind of talking about those things, but what's really interesting about that inconjunct in relationship to the Aries sign itself is that Aries is so full of the cardinal energy of, I just need to go in the direction, and there's so much inertia. As it's coming back to that analogy of that seed that needs to break through the ground, it really needs to work hard to have a lot of inertia behind it, to go in the direction, to break through that kind of barrier. And I always see the conditioning of Capricorn being that process of crystallization in our lives, where we want to make a break and a new change in our lives, and we want to really step into something that's so fresh for us, and yet we've got the crystallized reality of how we've been acting in the past kind of hold us back, and that's what that strong need for Aries and inertia to take place, to really break through and to say, no matter what it takes, I'm going to do it. And yet that Virgo comes in halfway through and goes, okay, well, because you've got so much energy just going in one direction, it's going to deplete very quickly.
Uh-huh.
So we jump into things, and then Virgo comes along a little bit later and says, haven't you finished that project?
Right.
You know, well, what about it? You know, I'm just going to remind you over here quickly. So it's really interesting how that Virgo actually stimulates not only the Aries archetype to really say, by the way, as soon as you initiate something, be mindful that it's a lengthy process and that you need to check in with other planets or other constellations as well to kind of allow that process to keep going in that sense. So, yeah.
All right, that sounds great. Well, we are going to move to a break here briefly, and we'll be back with Simon. Love that first 20 minutes. It's wonderful getting into these archetypes, and we'll be right back.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's KRISTIN Fontana.com.
Shh! Over here. Here's a secret for a virus-free computer. ESET. They've been a pioneer in the antivirus industry for over 25 years. 25 years of innovative, top-rated antivirus protection. ESET's award-winning security solutions provide a safe online experience for over 100 million home and business computer owners. They are so affordable, fast, and simple to use. So be gone, you blue screen of death. ESET's on my computer. If it's not on yours, visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on ESET now.
iHome Audio has become the #1 brand in the iPod, iPhone accessories market. Visit the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and click on iHome Audio now.
What would happen if you didn't follow the established path? Would you feel scared or proud? Could you explain that helping the people of Peru improve their own community would also have an effect on your own? Would you rather make your own way or spend a lifetime saying, what if? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps. To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or go to peacecorps.gov.
I'm William Shatner, and this is Jimmy. Animals like Jimmy are often left behind by people fleeing hurricanes, fires, floods, and earthquakes. These abandoned animals cannot survive on their own. If you must evacuate your home, please never leave an animal behind. If you absolutely cannot take your animal with you, never leave him helplessly chained or caged. Many animals die because they cannot escape fires or rising waters. Animals need your help. Thank you.
Call PETA today, 757-622-PETA.
Okay, so you see a product you like on your favorite TV show, and you're going to write the number down. But if you're like me, you run around trying to find that pen and piece of paper, which magically disappears every time you need them. Then when you get back to the TV, they're already on to something else. Well, now there's a solution. Seen on TV products have combined all the best TV offers online and in one place. It's one-stop shopping. Just visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on the Seen on TV products. Then, who cares if that pesky pen or paper does a disappearing act?
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
All right, we are back. I'm here with Simon Borster, and he's from Sweden, actually born in South Africa, hence the accent, right? From my perspective.
Yeah, that's right.
Wonderful speaking voice. And, you know, we just made a decision on the break, or I did. I'm just thrilled with our first segment, and we are going to extend this series. It was going to be a 3-series segment with Cardinal, Fixed, and Mutable, but we're going to go all the way through the Zodiac together. And remember, if you're interested in teaching or getting some teaching from him, online courses, check out his website. I think that would be a wonderful way to deepen into this work. So, all right, we are back. So I'll pass it back to you here. Where were we?
Thanks so much. Well, we were kind of discussing the Aries archetype in the sense of how Jeff Green how he wrote Pluto and came to the understanding of what was really important that a soul needed to remember when they were on their evolutionary journey. And the natural zodiac played such a strong role, in my opinion, in how he came to so many of his conclusions when he described the placement of Pluto. And, of course, he was also teaching us the archetypes themselves in that way as well. So one thing that really struck me with Aries that I feel is incredibly important for anybody that's got a strong emphasis of Aries in their chart, and particularly somebody like myself where I've got an Aquarius rising and I've got Mars in the 8th house, in Virgo as well. So is the feeling and the necessity for freedom. It's so important for souls that have a strong Aries archetype within their consciousness, within their chart, to really honor that deep need for a sense of exploration of that independence, that need for independence, that sense of, I need to find out what the special purpose is about. I can't really put my finger on it because it's so instinctual. And yet, if I'm going to be blocked in some way, then I'm going to create this oppression within myself and maybe even project that anger onto other people, because what we have here is the natural square between Capricorn and Aries. And, of course, if we look at the natural opposition between Capricorn and Cancer, and Cancer's square to Aries, it creates that need where if we're not honoring that deep need to facilitate that impulsive desire to really follow our evolutionary requirements and our needs, we will then suppress that deep emotional experience of ourselves. And that repression comes from that Capricorn archetype. And, of course, that can lead to all sorts of, unconscious emotional issues that can arise at any point where planets might affect the Capricorn in your chart. And it will come up to the surface, and you could actually project a lot of repressed anger. And I know that within my own story, that Aries archetype with so many repression in my own life, especially because of the nature of patriarchy in South Africa, I've had to deal with that as well. And so I think that's a really important thing for us to all remember when we're really trying to deeply connect to what Aries symbolizes in our charts, is that there's so much energy moving in a new direction to break the crystallization that has emerged in Capricorn. And if we're not honoring that energy in a way that's very healthy, that gives us that flow, we can absolutely create deep crisis. Obviously, the inconjunct to Virgo, and that dysfunction, and of course that emotional projection that will be linked from Cancer and Aries and Libra and Capricorn. That whole entire square in itself, when completely activated, will actually create that need to blame another person, as it were, and project the emotional sort of pain onto other people, blaming them for them blocking you, where it was your inability to maybe take responsibility, Capricorn, of your own destiny, Aries. And this is something that I feel deeply should resonate with a lot of souls that are born in the Pluto in Libra generation, where we are so, in some way, shape, or form, our polarity point not only is Aries in that sense, it is also about actually creating a lifetime where we are not always codependent. And this is something that will naturally arise with Aries in that sense, where we reject our special purpose, that really, really deep feeling, and we've kind of hold into other types of realities, and we never follow that destiny that's really emerging for us in an independent way. So
one of the things I wanted to share, Simon, is that came up for me because I, as you do, I've got that moon in Aries. It's in the 10th house, and so I know all about kind of repressing emotions and being raised in a very patriarchal and consensus, in a sense, I would say religious family. And it was interesting, too. I was recalling even a conversation that I had with Jeffrey many years ago when we talk about the evolutionary states. And when I first discovered evolutionary astrology, I figured, well, heck, I'm probably just entering the first stage individuation, being that I was in this upbringing of this certain sort of family that I had chosen to be born into. And he was sort of chuckling, when he was talking to me about it, because it ended up, that I've had a lot of lifetimes where I've been sort of hiding because of what being me meant in the world, and there was a lot of persecution, and so I just started to hide behind certain families. But anyway, and then I obviously rapidly started throwing off the wrapping, and that's what evolutionary astrology will do for people when they dig in, and it's not always a very pain-free process. One of the things that I really had to get in touch with was this repression of emotion that is so tied into this Aries Capricorn square with the square to Cancer on the other side. And one of the visuals that I love, and something that I did hear from Jeffrey back in the day, and is that it's kind of like taking a beach ball. I may have shared this on air before, and pushing it underwater, and that beach ball could reflect the ball of emotion that you have, and you're just suppressing it. You're pushing it down, and the deeper you try and push, and the longer you try and hold on to it, the more difficult it is to hold on to it, right? When you're trying to extend that ball into the water, push it and deep in there, and eventually it's just going to pop up and dart out, in a fast, hard motion, and out of nowhere it could hit somebody, right, in the head.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that's exactly what happens. So whatever we repress, as Jeff would say, becomes distorted, and it's something that if anyone has, obviously this is a natural square, and we all have a first house, we all have a 10th house. We may not all have planets there, but we can relate to this, and so it's something to really pay attention to, because it creates a reaction instead of a response to our life, right? There's a real difference.
That's right.
Yeah, when we react, it's not pretty, and it never usually creates the outcome we want. So we want to always stay in a space of responding to what's in front of us, and that is just a little offering, I thought.
That was really beautiful to actually share, to be honest, because I feel if you're looking at the natural zodiac and you're trying to access a very deep and intimate connection with Source, with Spirit, one of the things that you have to do is really tap into the natural laws that are represented through evolutionary astrology's language and the constellations, and that response versus react is really what that Aries Capricorn square is about in some way. It's about teaching us how to respond to our environment in a way that is really healthy. And I think that that's something that if you look at the relationship between Aries and Virgo really asks you to really deeply, it creates that inner sense of analysis that that comes through when you act irrationally in some way, shape, or form, because Jeffrey always spoke about the baby touching the stove, and it doesn't know it's hot until it gets that environmental feedback back. And I always feel like that's Aries, Virgo, Cancer, and Capricorn kind of really reflecting itself there in that moment where we make that initial action that leads to a reaction, and of course through deep reflection and of course awareness of the outer reality, we can then understand our inner reality better. We create that self-discovery, and that response as we speak to other human beings is really represented and highlighted through that natural square between Capricorn and Aries. So yeah.
It is a work in progress, right? The cardinal signs is a two-step forward, one-step back process.
That's right.
We always get tested along the way. The universe will definitely throw us a curveball now and then to see how well we're doing with that response versus reaction. All right, we'll be right back after the break with Simon Vorster.
See straight and save. These days, everyone seems to see things differently. But from your eyes, you can see straight and save. Right now, get glasses online at 70% off at Glasses USA. There's a 100% guarantee, too, on top brand men, women, multifocal, and even prescription sunglasses. Visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Glasses USA, and you will see straight and save.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary Astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's Kristin, Fontana.com.
Have you ever wondered why you are here on this planet and what the point to all of this is? Evolutionary astrology is a natural science that allows for an understanding of the evolutionary journey of the soul from life to life. Evolutionary astrology provides a vehicle to understand prior life dynamics that have led to the reason and purpose for the life you live. It offers a depth of information and insights about each person that no other type of astrology can provide. As Jeffrey Wolf Green, the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, says,
for those who wish to unveil the depth of who you actually are, I would highly recommend that you seek out qualified evolutionary astrologers such as Kristin Fontana and other graduated students of the School of Evolutionary Astrology. For those who are considering becoming an astrologer to make it a natural career, I'd recommend that you consider Jeffrey Wolf Green's School of Evolutionary Astrology, where it will assist you in answering and your clients answering a big question. Why am I here? Thanks for listening. God bless.
To get your message out, social media is great. But if you want to be picked up by major media outlets, let's face it, just using social media makes your chances, well, slim to none. If you want to improve your chances, put your message in the right place. A press release on PR Web. Affordable, easy to use, and with great customer service, there's no reason not to use PR Web. Visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on PR Web now and get started.
There's hundreds of fun and simple things you and your family can do to live a healthier lifestyle. Here's 20 of them. Eat less, eat slower, eat smarter, eat your fruits and veggies. Stop eating before you're full. Up your fiber, lower your calories, get off the bus early, do some gardening, do jumping jacks, take the stairs, take one, not two, take on a new sport, take a long walk home, walk instead of drive, bend, stretch, reach for the stars, climb the monkey bars, skip the fudge bars. Search We Can online to find more ways you and your family can get healthy together. A message from the Ad Council, HHS, and NIH's We Can program.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
All right, we are back. I'm here with Simon Forster, and we are looking at the natural zodiac. And one thing that came to mind when you were discussing, or we were discussing react versus respond, is with respect to its square to Aries square to Capricorn. I think when I think of Capricorn and what we've been taught is that it connects to your center of gravity. And when we're not centered in ourselves, or not sitting in the center of our soul, if we're not seated in that place that feels like a natural groove for ourselves, maybe we are making choices based on what other people want for us with the opposition, or we feel limited by our environment or somebody who's putting a lot of pressure on us, and we feel sort of off kilter. You know, that can create, it kind of reminds me of somebody with scoliosis, you know, or something, or people that end up with back issues, which I certainly had my fair share of in my life, holding all of that really resentment or anger because I couldn't have the freedom to do what I wanted perhaps at a certain point in time. So, you know, one thing that I've always thought about with respect to Capricorn is, you know, staying in that center of gravity, and what do I need to get there, whether it's a meditation or a walk in nature, or, you know, what are the things that I know can help me return to that center? And so it's something to think about when you're in that Aries place and exploring. You know, are you staying in that center, in your center? Is it, you know, is it something that you're reacting to, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I, you know, when I always think about, to me, because of my Mars and Venus in balsamic phase conjunction in 8th house Virgo, I'm naturally, and it's actually square my node, so I naturally want to always find the solution to the problem, and through the psychological need for empowerment, I always look to where that solution manifests itself. And so I feel that when we're always kind of adding on to what you're talking about here, I feel that the natural sextiles between, or with Aquarius and Gemini, and the natural trine that actually takes place with Aries and Leo, And, of course, the polarity points of Leo being Aquarius, there's those repeating themes. And, again, there is that Gemini function that's there. I feel that when we are when we are essentially trying to express how we maybe feel, or that ball has been so suppressed and it comes up to the surface, we can always create trauma. That Aquarius archetype naturally fractures that. It creates that trauma because of the distortion. And the way that we can actually heal that process is signified through the Gemini and the Leo archetype in the zodiac relative to that Aries, that we need to express and communicate at all the time. We really need to allow our emotions to be, in a sense, expressed in a way so that it prevents us from repressing those emotions, so that we are able to actually not have that distortion take place all the time. And I feel like those are the kind of archetypes that we need to really hold space within our consciousness to really remind us of that ability to breathe, as it were, through some of those circumstances that can be incredibly challenging at times, especially with Aries needing that impulsive need to just express. And it can lead to that projection, of course, because of the opposition to Libra. Mm-hmm. And I feel that if we step into that communication, Gemini, and we talk about our emotions and we express ourselves, Leo, that we can actually offer that opportunity for that to act in a therapeutic way. And if there's any person that knows about that process, it's myself, because I've had to apply it with my own journey, direct experience, and I'm still consistently having to do it every single day of my life. So for anybody that's out there that's really looking to handle that process, I feel from my direct experience that's how I've managed it, and it could maybe help you through breathing through your conversations and allowing yourself to express and respond versus react.
Right. Well, yeah, that Mars and Venus you have is balsamic in the square to the nodes.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure you've had a lot of practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really interesting is that I actually have a daughter who's 2 years old and has 9 planets in Aries.
Oh, my goodness. How old is she?
So if there's any person that needs to understand the Aries archetype, it's myself.
Simon, how old is she? You said 2?
2 years old, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. What house are they in?
All the planets are in the first house and second house.
And they're all in Aries?
Yeah, so she has, we take Aries and the first house as the same archetype, essentially. Right. So she's got her moon, she's got Mercury, she's got Venus, not Venus, but Neptune in the first house. And, of course, then all the other planets are in Aries in the second.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. You've got your hands full.
I do, most certainly.
Where's the Pluto?
In the 11th.
Oh, nice.
So there is no controlling this little one.
Oh, my gosh. She must never sleep.
Nope, that is correct.
All right. So...
yeah. I wanted to kind of add something to the story regarding the Aries archetype, and maybe introducing a little bit of the way that it relates to in conjunctive Scorpio.
Sure.
And in the break, we were sharing about one of the lectures that you were doing that I was watching, and it was the leading edge of evolution, and how Jeffrey spoke about that separating desire that really brings us onto this plane of existence. And what's really interesting about that in conjunct is how we are, when we are always operating from freedom within our Aries, if we're always allowing that Aries energy within ourselves to really act without editing it, we could actually become very, very deeply connected and intimate to not only cultivating soul awareness, because, of course, if you can cultivate that soul awareness, you can absolutely become a lot more aligned with what is essential for your journey versus what might be just distractions. Mm-hmm. And that Mars energy really reflects to us how the soul is acting, or is using Aries energy to really reveal to us what those separating desires are that are, of course, emanating so deep from within us, that are essentially abstract and in some cases we can't really grasp that desire of Pluto all the time, which of course is the reason as to why we need to cultivate that Aries energy. Mm-hmm. Because when we're acting so instinctually, that environmental feedback is giving us raw truth, mm-hmm. right?
Definitely,
and
yeah.
The natural yod, of course, between Aries, Virgo, and Scorpio naturally induces that sense of inner reflection, and where we can become more empowered through recognizing our disempowerment or our sense of where our separating desires are.
Yeah, it's also important to look at the aspect between the Pluto and Mars in the chart. I think that's what the lecture was about, right? The phasal relationship between Pluto and Mars. Because it'll tell us where you are, or tell you where you are in your journey relative to those soul's desires, at this stage of the game, and where you are in this current process. Is it new beginning? Is it culminating? Is it, what kind of stress is there in that aspect? And that's a whole other conversation. But as you were sharing about the sextiles and the inconjuncts, people can find those aspects pretty easily in the chart. And if you don't know, you're welcome to email me or Simon, and we'll let you know what your Pluto-Mars is doing in your chart. All right, well, we need to move to another break. Wow. Okay, we'll be right back.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary Astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's Kristin, Fontana.com.
Let's face it, we're all looking for great products at a great price because it's just a good way to shop and get the most value for your money. Well, here at HealthyLife.net Radio, we do that too. We do it for you. You won't find advertisers or affiliates that are not in line with our vision of bringing people a positive, happy, and healthy life. Although many advertisers come to us, few are chosen. Our advertisers are handpicked and specially selected to support our vision and give you great products at a fair price. So the next time you're looking to buy a product or a service, check out HealthyLife.net's advertiser page. Click through our advertiser partner sites. You'll be glad you did, and so will we. Because you'll help support HealthyLife.net, and we can keep our positive programs coming to you 24/7. That's HealthyLife.net's advertiser page. Do us a favor. Visit soon and often. It's a win-win situation for you, our advertisers, and HealthyLife.net. Just do it. HealthyLife.net's advertiser page.
Want help quitting smoking? Try Premium e-cigarettes. They have an outstanding range of nicotine alternative products. Visit the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and click on Premium e-cigarettes.
The home for high-quality video is Vimeo. People who love videos love Vimeo. It's the community for indie filmmakers, popular entertainers, music videos. Even the White House posts high-def versions of its broadcasts on Vimeo. You can even upload and share your videos. So much to see, so little time. Visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Vimeo and get started seeing and sharing great entertainment now.
Take one step towards spirit. Spirit will take 1,000 steps toward you. Come explore the world of evolutionary astrology with Rose Marcus. Rose Marcus is well known for her heartfelt passion, sensitive counseling skills, and dedication to helping others. You can now study evolutionary astrology from the comfort of your own home through live teleconference classes with Rose. To register for the next Evolutionary Astrology School, to read your in-depth monthly horoscope, or to book a private astrology with Rose Marcus, please visit her website, www.rosemarcus.com.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
All right, we have returned. I'm here with Simon Borster from, he's in Sweden, originally from South Africa. It's been a real treat having him today. We're going to have Simon back with us with this new series now for the next 11 months. So the third week of every month, look for Simon as we make our way through the zodiac. Okay, so we've got our last segment here looking at Aries, Cardinal Archetype Aries, and pass it back to you.
So what I would like to share is that something that's really interesting about the nature of Aries in itself. Of course, we haven't actually discussed that, but it's a fire sign. And what we know about the fire sign energy in itself is masculine, and the energy it's going from the center outwards, and that's why there's always that association with exploration and the separating desire, as it were. And because of that nature of going and exploring, and us living in a reality where both masculine and feminine energy, or yin and yang, external, internal, manifests itself, Aries, of course, needs to come back home at some point and reflect back to us what has been, in a sense, discovered. And I feel that as we transition into the Taurus archetype, we learn about the relationship of energy moving out from the center, and then how that energy then transmutes itself into the resources that we now start to establish and gather, and how we begin defining the nature of this new direction. And with Taurus holding that space for us to be able to really understand and really connect in a very deep way what that new journey is about. And we're going to start to imagine about what values are associated with those new directions. And I hope we've got some time, but I'd like to share a little story that I always use to explain the natural zodiac and the progression of evolution with my students, is that Aries is this initiation. So we begin something new, and there's an entrepreneur that decides that he is now at his Uranus opposition. He wants to make a life-changing experience, and he just goes out and he discovers something. He really puts his initial mark on the story, and he goes out into the world, and he wants to be an entrepreneur, and he finds out that there's a business that he would like to run. And in this particular instance about pens, he wants to manufacture pens and sell them to the community in some way, right? and so Aries is that initial inertia of finding that, like going out and discovering where is my environment, and what does my society contain, and how can I make relations. That's the square to each of the cardinal signs. And as we transition into Taurus for our next discussion, we're learning about how we could understand how to identify resources, right? So we've made that choice, as it were, Aries, that leads us on that discovery. And as we move into Taurus, we start to become aware and allow information to come back to the center and really deeply reflect upon this choice that we've made, and obviously move into the next phase of the evolutionary cycle.
Yeah, one thing that is a great example, and I think a lot about with Aries, it's like if you imagine being a chef who's trying to create some sort of dish or dessert, and he's trying out all these different ingredients and tasting it and experiencing it, trying to figure out what things go together, how to blend this or that. And as we move into Taurus, it is about establishing a recipe for ourselves, for our life, something that really means something for us, that we can sink our teeth into, and that we can give it a name, even really in Gemini, as that follows. We're giving that thing a name, and then we're going to do something that holds value and meaning to us. We get paid for it because we need to survive and put a roof over our head. And so all these Aries experiences are exploring all the different things that taste good to us, feel good to us, they mean something to us, all those things that we'll really establish in the sign of Taurus, which we'll be talking about next month. So it's that Aries needs just wild freedom, unabated and absolutely without limits, if possible. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No soul,
exactly.
Like your daughter, will want to be limited in any way.
And yes, that is correct. And, literally help you if you decide to put anything in a way that stops or thwarts that Aries desire to conquer,
Right, exactly. Well, our children are our greatest teachers. I know that with a couple of children myself here, and it's interesting too because their sun signs both square mine. I'm a Sag, and we have a Virgo and a Pisces child. So it's amazing how the souls that come through us, and they're oftentimes more evolved. We are more evolved than our parents, I should say, most often. That's not always the case, but So they can push our buttons. They can help us rise to the occasion. They can help us be better people. And anyway, it is an honor and a joy to be able to rear them for sure.
Precisely, yeah, exactly. And I mean, for mine in particular, she's got the Pluto and Capricorn generation with the square through Uranus in Aries, and maybe we could kind of end off this conversation today about the significance of that cycle. To be honest, with Pluto being in Capricorn and Uranus in Aries, and how those 7 squares have really completely, radically changed the way that our inner structure to ourselves has been for the last however long. And of course, as we're moving into a new direction, there are so many souls that are emerging and pioneering. And in the beginning of the conversation, how Jeffrey was talking about, or he was shown, just go this way in terms of bringing the material through. And I feel that where we are today, presently, evolutionary astrology is going to thrive because we're at a point with Neptune and Pisces and Uranus and Aries of a new direction and a new spiritual direction emerging for us. And I feel that the healing modality that EA presents is now being pioneered in a new direction. And that's great to me, is what really brought me here.
Oh, wonderful, Simon. It is taking off like wildfire. It is definitely needed and necessary. And thanks to Sri Gustwar for
yeah, exactly.
downloading all that information in Sanskrit to Jeff Green. And thank you so much for jumping on board and being such a wonderful teacher of this work. I'm just thrilled to have you on the air with me. Thanks again, Simon. We'll be back next month with him, and we'll be back next week with Rose Marcus. Until next time, namaste.
For all your live or pre-recorded webcasting needs, come to earthchannel.com. Get your web-based message out to a select group or the whole world. It's easy. A pioneer in webcasting, earthchannel.com provides the best products and services to big corporations and government users. And now this same technology is available to you. They have the best Earthcast encoders, servers, and products to meet your technical needs. But wait, don't want to mess with technical stress? No problem. They'll do it for you. Earthchannel.com is your answer. You can use webcasting for lots of things like advertising, marketing, customer support, training, and don't forget web radio and TV. In fact, you're listening to a live Earthcast right now. So come to earthchannel.com. Actualize your audio or video webcasting needs today. You can't beat the friendly service or the price. Call earthchannel.com at 1-800-849-8978. That's 1-800-849-8978.
Find out about Kristin Fontana and get your free weekly astrological forecast on her website, KristinFontana.com. Read articles written by the founder of Evolutionary Astrology, Jeffrey Wolf Green. Evolutionary Astrology is a spiritual perspective astrology from Pluto's point of view, and what a view it is. You can even order a detailed personalized chart that tells you about your past, present, and future. You'll also discover where and when Kristin's upcoming conferences, workshops, and appearances will be on KristinFontana.com. That's Kristin Fontana.com.